Levat has landed, and the Tigers may not be done at quarterback just yet. We'll explain. Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making this your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get great podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe as always. One of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. Thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the world. Lane Kiffin, early Monday, tweeted, "Today is going to be so exciting at LSU football. You have been waiting for exactly this," with a tiger emoji. A few short hours later, the news everyone has been hoping for, waiting for, finally arrived. Hat tip Pete Thamel at ESPN was the first to report it. We have since confirmed, as has everyone else. Sam Leavitt, the #1 transfer portal quarterback in the country, has committed to LSU. So LSU now, in a matter of 12 hours, has commitments from 2 quarterbacks. Landon Clark from Elon committed on Sunday evening, very much like a backup option. If you caught our previous episode, we went through that. And now here on Monday, Sam Leavitt has jumped into the LSU class, giving LSU the quarterback that they have been really longing for. And they may not be done because over the weekend, Husan Longstreet, the former 5-star, who just finished his freshman season at Southern Cal, entered the portal and visited LSU. And I want to give you an update on that. That's coming in just a second. But let me start first by giving Lane Kiffin his flowers. I want to talk about Sam Leavitt and what all this means. I have some information on his deal at LSU and some tidbits that I want to get into. But Lane Kiffin deserves his flowers, okay? I believe that, whenever he showed up at LSU, in the manner in which he left Ole Miss, he has been vilified. And we've seen that, and I don't think that's going to stop, okay? But Ole Miss went on the run they did where they won a couple of playoff games, and there was a lot of love for Pete Golding and the job he did, which I believe is deserved. But a lot of that, I think, detracted from the job Lane Kiffin did in building that program and the team that Ole Miss just had. And then we saw all the players enter the transfer portal, the players maybe from Ole Miss that had intended to come to LSU stay. And it looked like a lot of things were stockpiling against LSU. And there was a lot of negativity circling around Lane Kiffin. And the fact that you had Brendan Sorsby here and didn't get him committed, he picked Texas Tech. You had Sam Leavitt here, he didn't commit. There was all of the fiasco with Damon Williams a week ago. The fact that now, through all of that, you have built, and as I'm looking at the updated transfer portal class rankings, LSU currently is the #2 class behind only Texas. LSU with 22 commits. And actually, as I look at this, I don't even know that this has been updated. I'm doing this so recently here after Sam Leavitt. No, this does not even include Sam Leavitt yet. Yeah, so it's actually at 23 transfers. That list doesn't even include Sam Leavitt, who's the #1 transfer portal player in America at the most important position. So for Lane Kiffin, he deserves a ton of credit. Remember how this went. Now, part of the reason that the Sam Leavitt recruitment it took the turns it did was Lane Kiffin's fault, okay? You had Sam Leavitt on campus a week ago. He was, as I was told, ready to commit. LSU was pushing for his commitment. I think I know there were very real concerns over the Liz Frank injury. When Damon Williams went in the portal, LSU was looking at the shiny new object. That was very off-putting for Sam Leavitt, who then scheduled his visit to Tennessee, which had not been scheduled when he was in Baton Rouge. Remember, all those dominoes had fallen. Sorsby had committed to Texas Tech. Kentucky took Minchie's commitment as they flipped him from Nebraska. It was Leavitt and LSU. I mean, they were the dance partners that were staring at each other as the music was starting to play. And LSU looked at the pretty new girl that walked in the room at the time, and it was disconcerting. And so for Lane Kiffin to have that situation unfold, the Damon Williams situation blow up the way it did, and to not only get back in the mix for Sam Leavitt, but to land him is incredible. On a previous episode, and shout out to our everydayers, you heard me say it this way, I said that when LSU was trying to get back in the mix for Sam Leavitt, I think the way I said it was This would be the greatest comeback since Lazarus. I had one LSU booster who listens to the show text me, roll the stone away. Obviously a biblical reference there to Lazarus. But anyway, the point being, this was an incredible job, and Lane Kiffin deserves credit. He's the one who took it upon himself to get on a plane and fly to Knoxville. Some of you have described it as like the ultimate, like a movie scene, where he flew to Knoxville at the end of that visit, where Sam Leavitt was visiting Tennessee, to go see him face to face. Whether he got on bended knee, begged, groveled, pleaded, whatever he had to do, I'm sure I'll tell you with some financial bearing as well, to get back in the mix for Sam Leavitt. Leavitt takes the visit to Miami. And listen, Miami's got a lot to offer, y'all. Let's be honest. Last year, they had a transfer portal quarterback who went number 1 overall. This year, they have a transfer portal quarterback who pocketed about $5 million and now has him in the national championship game. And there is a direct path to the playing field at the U because Carson Beck's out of eligibility. So Miami had a lot to sell, and they got the last visit as well. And so for LSU to land Sam Leavitt amid all of that is pretty incredible. Now, as far as the deal, as we sit here and record this on Monday morning, shortly after Sam Leavitt has committed, I'm told this is committed, not yet signed. The contract is not signed. And it is important to note that these guys do sign contracts now, because you are talking about revenue share deals. And so there are contracts. And as I understand it, it's being redlined, but the financial terms are agreed to. So this is done. It's just about getting the minutia of the contract worked out. For example, we told you about Braylon Moore. Okay, Braylon Moore, the terms of Braylon Moore's contract had been agreed to for more than a week. They didn't formally announce it until Sunday. It took a week before they formally announced it because they have to go through and redline these contracts. Same with Harlan Berry. Harlan Berry and LSU agreed on New Year's Eve. We broke that news. The LSU didn't formally announce it until Sunday. You're talking about nearly 2 weeks later, a week and a half later. Because as they go through these deals, there's all different type of language and verbiage, but the financial terms are agreed upon, and that's the biggest domino. Then it's just getting through the minutia of the deal. Same thing here with Leavitt. They have agreed to the financial terms of the deal, and I'm told this is going to be around $5.5 million at its most value, okay? What's important to note here, as I understand the way that LSU has structured this, and I think this is very smart because it does illustrate, again, that there are considerations here for that Lisfranc injury, okay? I mean, this is we've talked about the Lisfranc enough here, but it's a midfoot injury. Generally comes with a break and with ligament damage, and Sam Leavitt had surgery in November. So he's going to miss spring. I mean, there's some real concern there, and I think that is the primary reason why LSU started to look toward Damon Williams when they got Leavitt here and realized the severity of that injury and maybe how long it's going to take to recover. So I do understand, as I understand, there's language in this deal that would, if the injury is a problem and limits Leavitt's playing time, maybe that number comes down. But if he's the starter and plays and maxes out the value of this deal, it would put him in the mid-5, around $5.5 million. So I do understand that is more than what the number was going to be a week ago when Leavitt was here. And maybe that extra financial incentive is what got LSU over the hump to get Leavitt back in the mix and committed to LSU. But you've got Landon Clark, the Elon transfer, coming in as a very solid backup with experience. You've got Emil Picarella. And I'll remind you as well, with Emil Picarella, Emil was a 3-star who had G5 offers. Landon Clark didn't. He was a no-star. He had no star rating at all. Went to Elon, sat his first year, played 12 games this year. So you're talking about two guys there who are somewhat comparable, although we have seen Landon Clark play a season there at Elon. But you've got two viable, talented guys that give you depth at the position. But now you've got your starter in Sam Leavitt. And they may not be done. I'll explain what I mean, because Husan Longstreet was on campus this weekend, and LSU still feels like they could very well be in the mix. Let me get you the latest on that as we continue Locked on LSU. It's your team every day. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. That's right. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts, so you can apply those to the bets that you like the most. Open your Profit Boost pack first thing on game day and see what boost you want to apply. The boost will let you lean into game day instincts. I tend to love home teams against the spread. I went very heavy on the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football, won that one. And the boost give you more juice on the bets that you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. You make your picks, apply the Profit Boost, go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your Profit Boost packs every NFL playoff game day. We're also brought to you by Wayfair. The new year is here, and it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh, all in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or upgrading your work-from-home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and your budget. My wife and I recently bought our patio bar stools for our outdoor kitchen. We bought new ones, the all-weather material. We got them from Wayfair. So no matter what you're looking for, they're going to have it for you at Wayfair. So get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. So LSU has landed Sam Leavitt, and they've got Landon Clark. That's two, in addition to Emil Picarella. That gives you three quarterbacks on the roster. And I told you they may not be done. Now, if you are an everydayer, and shout out and thank you, you heard me say this in the previous episode when we discussed Landon Clark's commitment. And at that time, Sam Leavitt had not yet been committed. And I told you in that episode that LSU was not just pursuing Leavitt or Husan Longstreet. This, if you don't believe me, this was that episode. I had multiple sources on Sunday independently express to me that LSU not only wants to sign Sam Leavitt, but they also want to sign Husan Longstreet. They want to sign them both. You're going to hear that and laugh and roll your eyes, and I understand. I'll say again the same thing I said in that episode. That doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're Husan Longstreet, you're a five-star, you went to Southern Cal, you sat this year. Southern Cal's incumbent is returning for another season there with Jaden Mayava. So why, if you're Husan Longstreet, did you leave? You left for an opportunity to go play somewhere. Well, if LSU added Sam Leavitt, it would stand to reason with LSU paying north of $5 million to bring Sam Leavitt to Baton Rouge that the opportunity to play isn't necessarily going to be there because LSU signed Sam Leavitt. And that would be my line of thinking. That is a very rational, logical progression, like deductive reasoning there. However, after saying that on Sunday and then on Monday, Sam Leavitt committing, I had three people, two of them on staff and one very closely associated with the LSU football program, confirmed to me the plan that LSU is still pursuing Husan Longstreet. And the sales pitch for him is that it's more of a long-term decision. This is not a 2026 decision. By the way, in 2026, there could be an issue with Sam Leavitt's list rank. So come compete, and if there are issues there with his foot that prohibit him from playing, then you're on the field. There's that sales pitch. The other part of it is to say, come to the place that's going to develop you. Look at what Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss have done with quarterbacks in this system. You can go back to Matt Corral becoming an all-conference quarterback or Jackson Dart becoming a first-rounder transferring in from USC when they got him to Ole Miss, turned him into a first-round pick. Look at Trinidad Chambliss's development this year. The thought being, go to the place to play in the offense that's going to develop you, not for your next 2 or 3 years in college, but for the next 10 or 15 years in the NFL that's going to set you up for that best trajectory to make $100 million during your NFL career. That's sort of the pitch to Husan Longstreet. Now, will it work? I have no idea. I know Husan Longstreet, his visit apparently went very well. He was at the LSU women's basketball game on Sunday when LSU upset number 2 Texas. Great crowd, by the way. And I believe, there's a lot of emotion mixed into all that. And I think it's a very emotional, type sell. There's a relationship there with Longstreet and Weiss and Kiffin because of the high school recruitment. So I do think there's a lot there that makes sense. Longstreet, his first visit was to LSU after jumping in the portal. And as of this very moment, there are no other reported visits. I think it's also worth mentioning the timing, right? The LSU semester, because these are student athletes, despite what some people may think, the LSU semester started today, Monday, January 12th. So the semester began today. And so and you have another 10 days or so to enroll in classes. So for those that if you want to participate in spring ball, you have to be enrolled in school in the spring. Well, you got about a week and a half now to get enrolled. So if it's Longstreet or whomever, they're going to have to get enrolled in school. So that decision has to come pretty quickly here. So if Longstreet is just now going to start taking visits, remember the portal window closes on Friday. You don't have to commit somewhere by Friday, but you have to be enrolled in school if you want to go through spring practice. So that does put a little bit of a time crunch on a decision. The other component of this is financial. LSU has put together a class of more than 20 players already. I think it is fair to say they have had to spend more on quarterback than they thought they would. The number we told you initially with Trinidad Chambliss before the portal window opened was approaching 4, was around 3.85. Well, now you've gone to north of $5 million here for Sam Leavitt alone. What would it cost to get Husan Longstreet? I don't have that answer. If I do, I'll certainly share it with you, but I don't know that number. So what more will the market really bear? Like, what more do you have in your coffers from rev share and the true third-party NIL deals that you've already agreed upon through your multimedia rights partner there with the NIL LSU Max program? That becomes sort of a real question as well. So I want to be abundantly clear here. Let me editorialize. This feels like it's very ambitious, like thinking you're going to get Leavitt and Longstreet. To ask Husan Longstreet to leave a similar situation that he was just in at SC, where he was going to be sitting behind a veteran incumbent, to come to Baton Rouge and sit behind Sam Leavitt, or take a roster spot at a place where you're not just guaranteed to be the starter. Like, that feels ambitious. That feels unlikely. But I'm going to tell you again, LSU landing Sam Leavitt was unlikely with the way he left Baton Rouge 6 days ago. When he left Baton Rouge after everything started to unfold with Damon Williams, it felt like that ship had sailed. I mean, it was such bad terms and such negativity surrounding that exit, that to now be in this situation where less than a week later, you not only re-engaged, but got him committed is stunning. So at this point, Lane has always described himself as the self-proclaimed portal king, and it is really hard to argue against that, considering the way that he has come back from this situation and landed the class that he has, and what is very likely going to be the number one transfer portal class in the country. And adding Sam Leavitt here to the top of this class is incredible, and we'll see if they can add Husan Longstreet. Now, there are 2 more players that LSU has added since last we spoke, so let me give you a quick thumbnail on both of them. Another receiver and an offensive lineman. Now, the offensive lineman is a really big deal. So it's Darrin Strey, both literally and figuratively. So Darrin Strey is a true freshman. He was a 4-star in the 2025 class, was at Kentucky this past year with Kentucky offensive line coach Eric Wolford, who is now LSU offensive line coach Eric Wolford. So he's 6'7", 320 pounds. He was a big-time prospect whenever he went to Kentucky. He was the number, according to On3, they ranked him as the number 23 overall player in the country for 2025. So he was the number 23 player in the country when he signed with Kentucky. Played in just 3 games, only 18 offensive snaps. But, when you need numbers and big-time prospects on the offensive line, this is one of them. And for 3 straight days last week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, LSU brought in big-time tackle prospects. Micah DeBose from Alabama, he landed at Vanderbilt. They brought in Mario Nash, who was at Florida State. He ultimately signed with Mississippi State. And then there was Darrin Strey, who ultimately LSU landed. So you've now added 4 transfer offensive linemen. And I would assume with the couple of Ole Miss offensive linemen that went in the portal over the weekend, probably LSU, you would assume, will be in the mix there. I know we told you from the beginning of this portal cycle, LSU wanted to add 3 starting offensive linemen, 2 guards and a tackle. Well, you might have gotten your tackle there in Strey. I don't know that you've added any starters among your guards. Maybe William Satterwhite from Tennessee, who's been a backup center, could be a starting guard. I think Jaquan Sprinkle from NC Central, who has been a starter at a lower classification, could compete. I wouldn't rule out a guy on the roster presently, like Solomon Thomas, competing for a starting job right away. So filed that away, but the Tigers did, in fact, land a big offensive tackle. And then the other one that they landed here on Monday is another receiver. And man, this one is one that I think most people aren't necessarily going to do backflips over, because LSU's already added 9 receivers to this class. But Roman Mothershed has committed from Troy. This is a contrast to what we've seen so far from LSU in their recruitment of receivers. You've been seeing burners and dudes that can get downfield, dudes averaging nearly 20 yards a reception. Roman Mothershed is sort of the inverse of that. He is 6'5". He's listed at 6'5", 207, 25 catches this year, 10.4 yards per reception. He's got 3 years of eligibility remaining. But after he committed, I talked to an NFL scout on Monday who told me that kid is an NFL player. He has an NFL body, 6'5", 207, catches the ball, big catch radius, and a huge ceiling. So again, think about the prototype that we have seen throughout this portal cycle with what Lane Kiffin's staff has been recruiting. Guys who have college experience, who have played in college with multiple years of eligibility remaining. Roman Mothershed, maybe not a guy that you expect to have a massive impact in 2026, but with 3 years of eligibility remaining, could be one of those bet-on-the-come guys that we've seen they've signed already. So a 9th portal wide receiver added by Lane Kiffin and a squad. But the big news, of course, adding Sam Leavitt, and the big one to watch, Husan Longstreet, as this develops. And as it develops, you better believe we'll have you covered right here on Locked on LSU. So do me a favor. If you're on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked on LSU. It is your team every day.